according to their law. And when COINTELPRO was finally made public, that was back in 1976, with the church committee hearings, they had to pretend that there was no longer such a program as COINTELPRO, because they knew and had to acknowledge that it was illegal at the time. Today is a different story. Today, there is a whole structure of law, or what purports to be law, that criminalizes political activity. We've got the Patriot Act. We have Congress's authorization for the use of force. And we have Barack Obama's own NDAA, his preventive detention legislation. There is a whole body of so-called anti-terror law that is on the books that did not previously exist, at least before 9/11, which brings us to Assata and the latest threat against Assata. When that black FBI agent read his script, and it was a carefully prepared script, there was no ad-libbing there. Every word was meaningful. When he read that script, elevating Assata to domestic terrorist #1, he said it was because of her ideology. He said that she continued to espouse her black liberation ideology in Cuba 40 years after the events that landed her in prison. Her ideology is being treated as a weapon against the security interests of the United States. Black liberation ideology is considered to be terror, and everybody who espouses that ideology is espousing terror. That is the framework in which they are working. Everybody who stands up and says hands off Assata is giving what they would call substantial aid to a terrorist as designated by the FBI. So everybody here is guilty of the crime of espousal. And if the state wants to move against us, they have already concocted the purported legal grounds to do so. All of this, of course, means that we espousers need to draw closer together before they put us all in permanent lockdown together. And that brings us to the subject of the Black is Back Coalition. I would direct everyone to the Black is Back Coalition's website. It's blackisbackcoalition.org. There you can find the principles of the coalition, its demands, description of the steering committee, and the structure of the coalition. The coalition came together in a crowded apartment in Washington, D.C. In September of 2009. There was a consensus in this crowded apartment 9 months into Obama's first term that it was important to demonstrate that there was still such a thing as a black left. You remember back in those days, it was all Obama, 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 Obama. And if there was still such a thing as a black left, then we thought that some effort should be made towards collaboration among those organizations and those individuals. It was suggested that we call it the Black is Back Coalition. And I remember saying, damn, that sounds like a James Brown song. And that works for me, because James Brown worked for us. So that's what we settled on. We set a date for our first demonstration for November 7th. That was only, I believe, about 6 weeks away. And some of us had not met each other at the time. We had close to 200 people at a rally that began at Malcolm X Park in D.C. and then proceeded in a march to the White House. Then, right after the first of the year, we had our first national conference. That was in St. Petersburg, Florida. Representatives from all the new member organizations got together, and we drew up our principles of unity and created the organizational structure for the coalition. Every year, we've held national conferences. I think the first one after St. Petersburg was in D.C., then one in Philadelphia, and then last summer I think it's important to emphasize that the coalition has absolute respect for the autonomy of its member organizations. For example, and I think this is the best example, the People's Organization for Progress has been part of the Black Hispanic